Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome to the Hot Rod Workshop. Today, we're going to be talking about engine turning, or jeweling, as some people in the past used to call it. This was a form of decoration in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and onward. It started kind of as an aviation thing, I believe, don't quote me on that, but it eventually evolved into a hot rod kind of thing, which is perfect for this channel. Little example I have here, a buddy of mine built this dash panel out of cast aluminum, and he had these two panels left and right, and he made little addition pieces out of engine turned aluminum. So it kind of adds a little bit of flair, I guess you could say. So we're going to talk about how to do that. There's a lot of different ways you could do it. You could do it by hand, which is fine, but it can get a little squirrely when you're trying to get it perfect, within reason. This isn't like necessarily a machining process. So what I developed is a little tool. Just something I whipped up real quick in the lathe. Just some cheap aluminum to accept a Cratex rod. This is a medium grit, 6-inch by 1/2 inch in diameter. And you can get these, I'm pretty sure I got this from McMaster Carr, but I bet you other abrasive sources have it. But it's a somewhat elasticy, kind of rubbery feeling, well, more or less a shaft that works like a sandpaper. And you spin it at kind of a slow speed, and you kind of just hit spots as you go in a measured kind of way, half turn this, quarter turn that, and you kind of trace over yourself and you get this kind of neat pattern. So the overall gist is to get this to spin safely, of course, and kind of dab, dab, move your material, dab, move your material, dab kind of deal, and then up, dab, dab, dab kind of deal. It almost press fits into the front here, and you have a hole, so when you go to pull it out, it displaces the air as you pull it out, so you don't get that suction cup kind of deal. All right, so we got our piece cut. I'm just gonna kind of round off any burrs that may have occurred in the cutting process. There may be a better way of cutting this. I haven't really experimented too much with it, but I have noticed that the hacksaw does get through it kind of clean. I was afraid that if I use, a pair of like aviation snips or something, it would kind of just pull it in, and I'd have almost like a concave scenario. So we'll just kind of square this up. It doesn't have to be crazy. What we'll do is we'll push this in, kind of just give it just a little bit of pressure. All right, so you got that situated in there. It is a little not perfect, but we're gonna run a test run anyway, so let's head over to the drill press. All right, so we're gonna chuck up our Cratex holder onto our Walker Turner drill press. Really like this machine, built in 1944 in Plainfield, New Jersey. You see a lot of these out there, but I don't know, I like these in particular. They seem to be really well built. We have kind of a janky setup here though. It's overseas XY table, which will work for what we're doing. And I cannot bring myself to drill into a perfect Walker Turner table. So what we're gonna do is set this up a little janky with some clamps and whatnot, but we are gonna square up the Jacob's chuck to the table and try to get as straight a line as possible. All right, so what we'll do is I have a 1/8 inch bit chucked up in the Jacob's chuck there. What we're gonna do is go full tilt to the right, just about till it meets the stop, or I'm going to call it the stop. And I'll bring down the quill and we'll lock it in place right there. And what we'll do is I will kind of adjust this table until she just touches the 1/8 inch bit. All right, so I retracted the bit. It's just about touching on the inside of this groove here. And I will bring it all the way over to the left and do the same thing on the right hand side. And I'll bring it back to the left, check it, kind of, you know, dance around a little bit, get it as close as I possibly can. That'll actually work just fine. All right, so we got the material all situated in there in the XY table. It's oversized for what we're gonna end up having, so we don't have to go all the way to the end here. So what we're doing now is we're just gonna chuck this up in the Jacob's truck, like so. And I like to give the surface just a little bit of WD-40. All right, so we're all set up for our first pass here. What we're gonna end up doing is running, go straight down, travel over till the edge of the Kratex just overlaps the last circle you just did. It just touches it. And then we'll continue down the whole path. And as we do that, the aluminum that this guy picks up and also the pieces of abrasive and whatnot will end up on the WD-40 and will in turn give you a bit of a straight line, almost a guide, because you want to overlap on the second pass. Okay, so that's for our first pass. And we have a little bit of, you know, not the most uniform finish in the world. But we'll keep moving forward. Probably has to do with the Kratex not being perfectly flat, but at the end of the day, it will end up looking okay. So if you look at the finished piece here, you'll notice that the circles overlap each other by about half their size. So the center of this one, the next one in line, because this is the overlapping one, the outside diameter of the circle lines up with the center of the previous. So what we'll end up doing is we'll line up the Kratex, we'll move the table out and align the edge of the Kratex with the center of the last pass, and then go dead center in between the two circles, hit our circle, and then do the same exact slight overlap as we were doing before. I'm almost dizzy from that. Okay. Just hit it with a little bit of alcohol. And a fresh cloth, and just kind of slowly clean her. You don't want to hit too hard because there's still a little bit of abrasive on there from the Kratex. A little more. you are. Nice engine turned panel. Now, there are other ways to do this. You can do it by hand with a normal drill. If you have the ability to do that, by far that is the easiest and fastest way to do it. So a while back, I made this little panel for a voltmeter, just playing around with a bead roller and a little bit of paint and so on. Just because I had the time, I was diagnosing a alternator issue at the time. So I thought it'd be fun to make a panel that is an insert for that. So I made a template for the inside there. Found my circle for the dead center of the gauge hole, and we will cut that out of the engine turn panel. All right, so after a little bit of cutting and sanding and filing and so on, here we are. It's a little bit overlapped on the top. I'll just trim that side up, but looks pretty neat for a little temporary doodad to throw in the car. I mean, I just threw an old school pressure gauge in there just for looks, but that would fit well in an old car, and it would you know, it just dresses it up a little bit more than your typical, you know, piece of aluminum. So something like this would fit just fine in an old Model A. Thanks for watching. Yeah. Hang on. Back up a little bit. Sit. Can you turn around? Turn around? Turn around? Oh, that's a good girl. It's good?